Hi, I'm Glenn Whipp with the Los Angeles Times. Orange is the New Black is back. Second season dropped a couple of weeks ago on Netflix, all episodes at once. Joining us today, Natasha Lyonne. Welcome. We got a little delay going, but we'll live with it, right?
Hello, Glenn. Speaking to you from space, and that's that accounts for the delay. I like it when you say that the episodes dropped recently. It makes me feel like I just released a record, which is satisfying. So thank you.
How does do you get all the episodes, all 13? How does Netflix get those things to you? When did you see them?
I have not seen them. I've seen the first episode of the first season. I've seen the first episode of the second season, both at the premieres, and so I'm sure, I don't know, I have no idea what the answer to that question is. Maybe they were made available to let other people. I have Netflix, so yes. I'm assuming I could watch them at any time.
They are there, yes. Why haven't you watched the...
It's terrific. I hear the show is excellent.
It is. You really should check it out.
I love those people. I love that show. I'm a big fan of that show.
Okay, so is the reason you haven't watched it because a lot of actors don't like watching themselves on... Yeah.
Like this, for example, is deeply unpleasant for me. Whatever we're doing right now, this is about as much as... This is like psychologically damaging enough. I'm going to need like several months to recover. Okay, this whole Skype, there's a delay. I can see myself. I can see... I don't like anything about this, but I'm also very grateful that you're taking the time to talk with me, and I want to thank you. But I'm just saying, it's not like after this, I'm like, you know what would really make this Monday even better is sitting down and watching 13 more hours of myself. That's not my idea of a good time.
But you know, I find that interesting though, because the cast of the show and the stories are so sprawling that you could watch these episodes, and you know, the few minutes that you're in there, you could just kind of hit the fast forward button and then kind of keep up with the other stories. Just a tip, just a thought.
Excellent. But you know, with the fast forwarding, and you can have to tell where you're landing, and then you're going to have to rewind. And once I start, inevitably, it's going to be Pandora's box. I'm going to want to see it all myself. And eventually, when we're done with production, all together, I can't wait to watch the show.
Yeah.
I love television, so I'm more than happy to watch the show.
Well, what are you watching right now instead of watching Orange is the New Black?
I'm not sure if anybody's heard of this show. It's really excellent. It's called Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with it, but it's definitely worth checking out. And I watched that last night and this morning. They took a little nap in between. Yeah. And that's really, I don't know, all the other Sunday night shows are gone, right?
I think so. Mad Men about a month ago, yeah. What are we going to do on Sunday nights now? Catch up on... We're going to have to live
our miserable lives, let's face it. I mean, they've really taken everything else from us. We're going to have to go out there and really get in the muck, you know? Like last night I had to go to, you know, a friend's birthday party. It was like, what am I doing? Why am I out of the house right now?
There's no screen.
Yeah, I did it like a champ.
Good. So with the new season, it looks like, you know, just taking you back down memory lane here since you haven't kind of caught up with it, but a lot of new characters, some new characters introduced, some new backstories, and then Nikki's just kind of there doing her thing, isn't she?
Is that a question?
Yeah. Well, I guess the big thing, you know, it's funny talking about the new season because who knows how many episodes somebody's watched. On a weekly series, we kind of know where people are in terms of the season. I don't really want to spoil things, but there is a contest this year with that Nikki's involved with, right?
I remember that, yes. And I like to look at interviews sort of like as though I'm in court on trial. So I don't want to give you too much information that could be incriminating later. Suffice to say, I do remember that there was a sexual competition involved. But I also feel sort of like, I mean, the show's been out for like at least a week and a half or something, right? So like if people haven't watched it by now, seems like what do they have, children and lives? They should have already watched all 15 jobs. It's, you know, they should have really, they've had ample time. So I think, spoilers be damned, there is a very stiff sex competition happening in the prison, and I am really cleaning up. I am really cleaning up this year. Very exciting.
You and Big Boo. And this does that aspect of your character, it seems like it sort of invites some very passionate responses from fans, doesn't it?
Oh, what are you talking about? Because I already spoke about this on the television, right?
Yes.
I see. This is like a leading question. You see what I mean? Okay, you don't have to be a detective or a lawyer to understand what's happening here. I have been, I've been getting proposition. Listen, before the show, I wasn't really on the internet, you know, and Netflix put me on Twitter and all these things, and I have a great time on there. It's a good time. I'm happy to do it. But yeah, there's a lot of like direct propositioning that can come. It comes directly to your cell phone. So I'm not sure if like historically, like I've been doing this for many years. I'm not sure if maybe I was always getting propositioned that much. Nobody had direct access to me or something. But like, you know, I can like wake up, check the phone, and I have a lot of action happening on the cellular phone. I have a lot of propositions happening, and I think maybe what's happening is we're not quite telling the difference between my character and me, which is great news on one level. But on the other level, you know, I'm a grown-up. I just don't even have that much energy. Like, I couldn't get anything else done if I was sleeping with as many people as are. I mean, my cell phone would really lead me to believe that I am deeply, deeply in my prime. And, I mean, it could be nuts. It's like the 60s. It's like I mean, free love is alive and well on my cell phone. It's just nonstop. So, you know, it's imaginary. It's not that high stakes. But.
And you have Netflix to thank for this.
Safe sex. Everybody should have safe sex. I just want to make a plug for that.
That's.
I don't know what we're talking about, but everybody should use protection.
Right. Okay.
Oh, damn. What did you say?
I said you have Netflix to thank for all this.
Yeah, I love Netflix. It's very fun, you know. I've never really been the sex symbol-y type, so it's like I'll take what I can get. I'm assuming this won't last for long, and so, you know, I'm happy to be having a moment in the sun of this. It's very nice. They're all very nice. Nobody's saying they want to, you know, I mean, ultimately, what is sex but an extension of really, like, I like you so much, now I would like to, you know, like, get more involved, bodily fluids, whatever. And so it's a very nice gesture, ultimately, to be propositioned so frequently and filthily, you know. So it's very nice.
And for Nikki, it's not. She says it's not an addiction. It's a collection, and she's a giver.
That's water. It's water.
I hope so. Yeah. It's a little early in the day.
Hey, don't worry about me. The show's going great. What was your question? You're saying that sex is not an addiction.
That's what she says. Do you think that's true for her?
I think that in the show they make it clear that she is using it as a bit of a substitute for her addiction, and that's really what the cookie eating contest is about. She is looking to numb her feelings any way she can. For me, that's not something I can identify with at all from my personal experience, but I was able to understand what she was talking about as a character, and she's, you know, be it sex or food or when nicotine is presented, and obviously, ultimately, when you know, drugs get brought into the prison this season. That's not a spoiler. It's just a fact at this point. That is definitely problematic for her. I do think that would be her first choice, and that's my answer to it.
Yeah, good answer. We saw back in the first season with Nikki that obviously she had some issues with her mother, not the greatest parenting in her life. So, I mean, there was a great thing. I remember one website, you know, went through each character with a real psychologist and explored, you know.
And I have to say, I'm a little bit concerned about that psychiatrist patients.
Yeah.
Speaking as someone who's, you know, met a fair amount of psychiatrists, I feel like their entire practice is potentially dubious. I just want to put that out there.
He shouldn't necessarily be taking the time to think so much about fictional characters, you're saying.
Yeah, and maybe even like talking to the press about it then, and just the entire thing seems a little bit like I'm, you know, concerned about their own diagnosis and what that would.
Well, we won't name any names then on this guy, but yeah, maybe that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there are some, you know, pretty, you know, blanket assessments that, you know, obviously life is such a personal experience. I do think that we're each, you know, experiencing these things very personally. Like, in fact, I would say that's one of my problems even with therapists is I feel like, you know, you have such a short amount of time and you're supposed to really, you know, say your case. And I remember one time I was in couples therapy and the therapist said to my boyfriend that he was the introvert and that I was the extrovert. And I was like, listen, lady, I mean, I really nearly got up and walked out of there because I was just like, that's really deeply minimizing. Like in so many ways, I'm, you know, like the last thing I want to do is, you know, leave my house or talk to people. It's just sometimes once I'm engaged, I get excited and I'm having a nice time. But I just thought it was such a, you know, stereotype kind of. So anyway, I don't know. But yes, he did make some good generalizations, this magazine therapist.
Yeah, yeah. I read an interview with you where I guess, I don't know how recent it was, but you met a judge, a criminal courts judge.
Yeah, Palm Springs.
And she, I guess, was from Texas. Not to make any generalizations about states or anything, but
okay, shouldn't we? Why not? It's not like this is on the record or something, right? Because I mean, it doesn't feel like this is real, and I think it's probably the time delay, and also the fact that it's just where faces on a split screen, and it says Skype in the corner. The whole thing seems suspiciously imaginary. But this woman was from Texas. She was just so excited to be running into me at the ladies' room at a restaurant in Palm Springs. And I mean, it was shocking. That's really what she said. She was like, I didn't understand that the people I was sentencing were real people until I saw your show. It was really like a knife in the heart. I mean, how, you know, terrifying and deep that is. Like the ramifications of that statement for our society are terrifying. And sort of like, you know, one's worst nightmares confirmed about the justice system. So I guess the good news there is that, in fact, it was helping her to understand what a human being is like. And the bad news is that she was in a position of power with people's lives, and the you know, swing there is fucking horrifying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I would I would go with the good news. At least because that seems like the whole point of the show is to put a human dimension to these people that we seem to have kind of forgotten about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's really interesting culturally that it's, you know, becoming such a phenomenon. I mean, I'm so proud to be a part of something like this. I think historically, often, certainly during my ingenue phase, it was very confusing being a professional actress for hire and feeling like, wait, so really my job is about being like skinny or something? That was very minimizing. And so now to feel like we're, you know, involved in something potentially even important is really, really satisfying and meaningful. It's amazing that this show has hit such a chord.
Yeah, and the cast, just to, you know, every person in the cast is just seems perfectly chosen. You were saying that the creator of the show, Genji Cohen, kind of seemed to know and pick the ones who knew from pain and were willing to use it, which I thought was just a great quote in terms of you kind of really feel that from everybody in the cast.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess she followed it up by saying, but we were all of the, you know, self-inflicting variety, which essentially I think means just, you know, thinking too much, like sort of, you know, self-criticizing types. But yeah, it is interesting. I mean, certainly getting to know everyone, and even being in a situation where there's all these women together, and it could have really gone the wrong way. You know, it could have been a competitive or awkward environment, and instead it's so loving and safe there, and supportive, and we all really, you know, like each other. And I just started to realize that that was kind of the common thread that was sort of like binding us all, is we all seem to really have like right at like readily available to us a world of historical pain that we weren't really ashamed of anymore. Like we'd sort of worked through it, I guess, and we're you know, happy to use it to like try and do truthful work. So I just think that that's rare to kind of have this moment happen where you get like 20 women like that in one room. Just seems shocking. You know, it's unlikely to find like, you know, one person at a dinner party who's happy to have an honest conversation with you, let alone sort of that Genji managed, you know, and Jen Houston, who's really an incredible casting director. I mean, it's mind-blowing how excellent she is. And it's like they were able to see that in all of us or something. I mean, obviously I'm somebody who's a little bit more vocal about it because my personal story is so public, it feels like a waste of energy to lie about it at this point. But it was just fascinating to sort of, you know, I think for many of the girls on the show at this point, like I know their personal journeys, and you know, maybe they haven't spoken about them yet, and in so many different ways. Like there's so many, and I guess that's what I mean by sort of a minimizing therapist take on in a magazine article is, you know, of course, getting to know these women, these actresses, like they each have such a specific kind of, you know, it's like mine is very, you know, middle of the road. It's like, you know, problematic parenting and drug addiction, which has almost become its own stereotype with child acting and whatever. But, you know, there's a million variations on pain in this life. And how wonderful that everybody's willing to talk about it. You know, it's really great, this whole idea of sort of lifting the veil of shame and being rewarded for it culturally is really a modern phenomenon, and I think a really healthy one for our culture.
We're getting a lot of questions from fans of the show via Twitter. I mean, obviously there are people who have watched all 13 episodes already, as you said. You know, what else are they going to do? And they're wondering, when are you going back for season 3? When are you starting? Soon,
oh, we're
right?
already shooting.
Are you?
Huh?
Yeah. When did you start?
Time, right? Time. How does it work? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. What am I, a calendar? I think we started like a week ago, I want to say.
So pretty recently you're back filming
yeah,
again.
we finished the first episode already, and we're about to shoot the second one.
Okay. And we have a question from Adriana. I know you have a dog because I saw it on, you did a great piece on Conan, the spoilers.
Let me tell you, that dog is really, I mean, I'm very concerned about her ego. I mean, she is blowing up in such a, and so quickly. It's like living with a baby Shirley Temple, but with an attitude problem. You know, the dog is excellent. The dog only has 4 problems that I see, okay? Otherwise, pure perfection. She doesn't necessarily come when I call her, okay? She's not entirely housebroken. She yaps a lot, and she bites children. Other than that, this is the most incredible dog I've ever met in my life. I'm so in love with this dog. She's really, yeah, she's a massive, massive star. It's exhausting.
You've kept her out of the picture here.
She is currently away. She's with her father. It was like a Father's Day thing, and so she's in Los Angeles with her father.
All right.
So it's, but I'll be there, you know, on Wednesday, and so then I'll collect her. It's very hard. I'm not at my personal best without her. I'm nothing.
She's in Los Angeles with her father. She's auditioning for various TV shows of her own, right?
Oh, yeah, and it's like really complicated because he wants her to be in the business and I don't because of my personal experiences. So it's like we've been having a lot of back and forth, and, you know, he was here and we were all spending time together as a family, and, you know, it's a very complicated situation. It's very complicated. Her life is, I mean, managing her life, you know.
Yeah.
I don't have any assistance, but root beer.
Root beer, yeah. Well, we have a question wondering, well, I mean, if Big Boo gets a dog, well, why doesn't Nikki? Maybe Root Beer could get on the show, right?
See what I'm saying? People love the dog. You don't even have different questions. You just have a series of questions about the dog.
It's all, yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of hashtag Root Beer things coming off of Twitter right now.
Oh, well, you know what? I wish I could say I was shocked, but I'm not, you know? It was amazing. I recently did this thing for the New York Times, and I was like, yeah, let's not put the dog in the shot. The dog made it into all the pictures, okay? I don't know how she made it in the pictures. I don't know if she was sleeping with the photographer or what, but it's really out of control, the dog. I don't know. I don't foresee Nikki getting a dog this season, but then I don't know. Anything could happen. You know what I mean? At any given moment, anything could happen.
Natasha?
I feel like it's a little bit meta, and I feel like the show is probably better written than, like, Nikki Nichols gets a dog named Root Beer. I feel like I really respect the show, and I respect our writers, and I feel like it's unlikely that that'll happen. The good, if it's any consolation, though, everybody should know that the dog is at work with me every single day, and so the dog does get to spend a lot of time on set.
And Netflix will be giving Root Beer its own Twitter account soon.
They've already, all kinds of people have built Root Beer Twitter accounts.
Okay.
It's like a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Who even knew when I adopted this animal that it was going to be such a deep life? A deep life. I didn't know.
Well, thank you for taking a few minutes. I don't want to keep this conversation going because I feel like it will be extending your therapy down the road for just participating in this imaginary conversation. But thanks.
Listen, you know, my bills are going to be so high anyway. What's the difference at this point? I may as well go all in. Thank you so much.
Good talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See you later.